Could a human this powerful truly exist? Welton stood ready, sword and scepter in hand, as if he'd been waiting. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶, refusing to be scorned, morphed its back spines into hissing, fanged serpents. No matter how strong you are merely human. Perish. As it spoke, the snakes swelled, lunging toward Welton. Yet every serpent that attacked was effortlessly sliced into pieces by his blade. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 stared at the stumps, the clean cuts glowing with violet energy. It gritted its teeth. Welton aimed his scepter, its tip igniting with a purple flame. Stop your pathetic screaming. A whirlwind shield formed a sphere around him, deflecting the blast. Seeing this, 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 tried to flee. Damn it! I have to escape! But Welton had already predicted its move. With a snap of his fingers, dimensional barrier. This was a 9th tier spatial magic, capable of creating a dimension completely cut off from the outside. As 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 tried to run, it was trapped by a cage of black smoke. It leaped, only to slam into a solid, invisible wall. The beast fell back to the ground, roaring with fury. Human, how dare you cage me like this? Welton didn't answer, simply raising a hand to silence it. A brilliant light magic formed a massive orb, hurtling toward 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶. Light magic, a 9th tier spell that unleashes ultimate holy light. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 screamed in agony. Welton glanced down at the burning body. I was even holding back. From now on, you should watch your mouth. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 couldn't accept it. No matter the level of power, how could a mere human defeat it so utterly? Welton scoffed at its defiance. Returning to your original size would be just as useless. Did you descend to this realm with only that much power? 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 shrieked madly. Do not look down on me, human! Welton's voice turned ice cold. Then what is your rank among the divine beasts? Have you forgotten the 300 times you've died by my hands? 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 was in disbelief. This is absurd. Weren't you sealed away? Diablo Volfir. You escaped? He didn't deny it. That's right. Welton looked down at the pathetic creature. I'm glad you didn't die in one blow. As a friend of the 12 gods, you must know many secrets. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 remained stubborn. I will never talk. Welton gently placed a hand on its head. That won't be important. He recalled being told that 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶's fate was his business alone. Welton prepared his final strike. Third authority. Empowering. Consciousness erosion. Welton smiled grimly. Now, I'll take care of that mind of yours. As Jamie Welton cast the spell, a purple sigil, like an eye before a dark sun, appeared. This was his third authority, a skill to enhance the destruction of consciousness. A violet light flowed from it, soft as silk but filled with terrifying power. The purple serpent still postured, unafraid of death. That's useless, little brat. Its words turned to screams under the purple light of the spell. Jamie Welton considered, to control 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶's mind. I have no choice but to use 9th tier power. What a nuisance. Jamie Welton gritted his teeth as blood flowed from his eyes and mouth, pushing his magic to its absolute limit. He thought frantically, damn it, the feedback is intense. Blood began to flow from him like rain. He yelled, ah, no! As a terrifying explosion sent debris flying in all directions. The very ground shattered. He chuckled, then slowly lowered his hand. With a final groan, 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 collapsed, completely subdued. Jamie Welton's mind drifted to the past, to the fall of Diablo Volfir, and to events history had forgotten 10,000 years ago. At Jamie Welton's question, the man spoke through his fear. Yes, after we sealed Diablo Volf. It happened. As he spoke, blue blood trickled from his nose and mouth. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 let out a choked gasp. A horrifying spray of blood erupted from his lips. His agony intensified as a massive spike pierced through him from within his own throat. 𝐵𝐶𝐿𝐶 roared, a long, drawn-out scream as he writhed in absolute torment. Jamie Welton sighed, rubbing his weary eyes. To use a forbidden art to this extent. Finding the truth is never easy. Beside him, the man uttered garbled sounds, his body slowly dissolving into nothing but dust. Jamie stood, hands on his hips. It seems there's no other way. I'll have to hear it directly from the 12 gods. He sighed in frustration. What a waste. I couldn't learn a thing without using my 9th circle power. But, he thought, at least Ron's strength has been diminished. He sank into his consciousness, his thoughts racing. Even if Ran realized the basilisk was gone, he'd never know I was the one who killed it. It all happened inside my impenetrable spatial wall. A cold sweat broke out across his brow. He continued to ponder. For all his fame, the man was surprisingly fragile. He'd surely be suffering for some time. Then, an idea struck Jamie Welton. It was time to release the spatial wall. The dark dimension shattered, dissolving away to reveal a breathtaking evening sky. Lost in thought, he heard someone call his name, Jamie Welton, causing him to turn. Jin Guang rushed toward him at blinding speed, demanding, "What in the world just happened?" Jin punctuated his words by shaking Jamie so hard the world started to spin. That black sphere that just vanished. What was it? Jin pressed. And where did that snake go? Tell me now, all while shaking Jamie violently. I'm a little tired, he managed to say. Can we talk about this later? But Jin persisted. No, tell me right now. Just as he spoke, Jamie's world went dark as he collapsed, but Jin caught him just in time. With a final sigh, Jamie closed his eyes. He's asleep? Jin wondered. The scene shifts to a magnificent mansion near Harmonia Castle, bathed in twilight, as a bloody scream echoes from within. The connection to the basilisk has been severed. It was E, his hand covering his mouth in shock. What in the world just happened? He stared out the window. Could it have been that unidentified flash of light? It was powerful, but surely not enough to defeat a basilisk. Right? Damn it. I don't know what's going on. I need to get back to headquarters immediately. He bent down, muttering and searching for something, when a voice spoke from behind. So, this is where you were. The man spun around, stunned. You're Jin Guang, aren't you? Jin stood silently, arms crossed. And how do you know my name? The man slowly rose, wiping a trace of blood from his lips. How could I not know the man who constantly interferes and ruins our plans? You're the swordmaster of Fran, a knight of the Rio family. Jin was inwardly impressed by his memory. So, the Drian Church's intelligence network is nothing to scoff at. The man's eyes filled with cautious confusion. In the Rio family, a swordmaster is called a transcendent master, correct? Then what brings you to this remote land? As he spoke, he was secretly casting a spell behind his back. His only thought was to escape from Jin, no matter the cost. Jin's gaze was ice cold. That is none of your concern. The man replied, Very well. He then unleashed the spell, rushing at Jin while roaring, What a true waste of your talent! Jin calmly began to draw his sword. Then allow me to show you what Rio's swordmasters are. Before the man could react, Jin vanished, reappearing instantly behind him. In that same moment, cold steel touched his neck. The magic in his hands simply fizzled out. Jin finished his earlier sentence, truly called transcendent masters. He pressed the blade deeper, his voice a low threat. Prepare yourself for hell. We wouldn't want any misunderstandings when you arrive. Morning had broken. Sunlight streamed through a window where Jamie Welton slept. The harsh light made him groan softly. Jamie slowly opened his unique, greenish-blue eyes. My bedroom? How long was I asleep? As Jamie Welton sat up, a grim thought crossed his mind. Ninth-class magic carries far too many risks, and combined with holy light, the danger multiplies. He clutched his aching chest. The power is immense, but my body might not withstand a few more uses. He recalled the giant, fire-breathing serpent with its long tongue. Luckily, the beast was already weakened, no stronger than a worm. He replayed the battle. Thanks to the holy light created from the god killer's black mana, I nullified its divine power. Jamie's expression turned somber as he continued his thoughts. So it's confirmed, holy light is effective against divinity. But there's still so much I don't understand. Like the white, winged eye that appeared after its creation. It hasn't awakened in 5 years. A soft knock echoed as the door creaked open. Anna Mayer entered, calling, Master. Jamie let out a soft sound. She immediately rushed to his side to check on him, feeling his temperature and asking if he felt any pain or dizziness, her concern obvious. Jamie said with a helpless sigh. I'm all right, really, she breathed in relief. I was so worried, Master. You've been asleep for 3 whole days. Jamie was stunned. What? 3 days? She gave him a bright smile and scurried to the door. Wait just a moment. I'll go get someone who can explain everything. To Jamie's horror, a whole crowd of people flooded into the room. Elder, you're awake. We're so relieved. Jamie forced a smile. Did you bring everyone with you? I don't think I've even met some of these people. Jamie replied with forced enthusiasm. Ha ha. I slept very well. There's no need for everyone to worry. A red-haired young man, the Count's son, chimed in. Just as I thought. You would wake up quickly. Jamie shot him a judgmental glare. Lenin, don't say things you don't mean. Lenin replied softly. Yes, sir. The answer made him want to curse the damned fool. Jamie Welton then gave his favorite student an affectionate, gentle knock on the head. Hera approached him with a soft smile. Elder, I'm so relieved you are unharmed. Jamie ducked his head, embarrassed. I'm sorry to have worried you. Was it difficult looking after the kids? Hera placed a hand on her chest. Not at all. In fact, your disciples were a great help to me. The indigo-haired young man finally spoke. Thanks to you, I am safe. I thank you, Sir Welton. Jamie stopped him. A future king should never bow his head to anyone. Am I right? He looked at the Liberation Army youth, who stood stunned for a moment, before breaking into a bright smile and reaching out his hand. You're a very straightforward man. It's an honor to meet you. Jamie Welton shook the young man's hand in return. The brown-haired youth introduced himself. My name is Henry. Your disciples helped me immensely. Their skills are outstanding. Jamie Welton replied, It seems my students received help from you as well. As their master, I thank you. He then asked, What do you think of Count Fado? Henry closed his eyes with proud conviction. I can rest easy knowing this country is ruled by him. Your Excellency is the only one who truly cares for the people. Jamie Welton was pleased with that answer. Exactly. But Count Fado's face turned beet red. Hey, you two, stop teasing me. Henry laughed loudly. Haha, look how flustered he is. Jamie then turned to Hera. I have something to discuss privately with the Count. Could everyone else leave for a moment? Hera understood immediately. Of course. She bowed respectfully and departed. The low murmur of their conversation filled the room. Jamie asked, How do you plan to run the government in the future? The Count confessed, I'm not entirely sure yet. The Count continued. First, I want to eliminate all the rot. A great purge on a massive scale, Jamie stated. 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 hopes to see Harmonia regain its former glory. We will support you at any cost. The declaration left Count Fado completely stunned. He clenched his fists, thinking, Is that right? The moment we accepted their help, Harmonia became a vassal state to 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿. I might become a puppet in their national affairs. Jamie Welton cut through the Count's dark thoughts with 2 simple words. However, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 will not interfere in Harmonia's national affairs. So please, do your best. This is its own kind of revolution, isn't it? He said with a bright smile. Count Fado couldn't have predicted this at all. Sir Welton? But Jamie's expression suddenly shifted, becoming chillingly cold and imposing. But if Harmonia ever returns to its former state, facing that terrifying aura, Count Fado spoke with resolve. I swear I will not disappoint Sir Welton, our nation's savior. Jamie was pleased to hear the Count's vow. I'll hold you to that promise. The 2 men sealed the deal with a handshake. Of course, replied the Count. Sir Welton? Long after the Count had left, Jamie meditated before the setting sun. I must enter a state of deep meditation until I'm fully recovered. He touched his fingertips together and slowly closed his eyes. He thought, I want to find him, but it's proving difficult. Just then, Jamie sensed a presence outside and called out, Stop pacing back and forth. Get in here. A stern voice, laced with anger, spoke as the person entered. What is the meaning of that tone? So young, yet you have no respect for your elders? It was Jin Guang. Jamie Welton's eyes narrowed dangerously. Is that a warning? Jin Guang's demeanor changed in a flash. Ah, I was only joking. Hearing this, Jamie immediately became serious again. "What is it?" Jin said. "I came to ask you something. When you fought Basilisk inside that black sphere, there was a massive explosion of light. What was that?" Jin recalled the moment vividly. "That was the most powerful light I have ever witnessed in my life. A colossal beam of light illuminated the entire sky. Had I been any closer, I would have vanished with it." Jamie Welton said calmly, "That was an incomplete level 9 magic spell. That brilliant light." Jin understood in an instant. He'd suspected level 9 magic, but Jin was picturing Jamie Welton holding a luminous sorcerer's staff. He considered the highest state, a realm every mage dreams of but no human can reach. Had Jamie Welton truly attained that level? Jin rested his chin on his hand. "Even seeing and hearing it myself, I still can't believe it. The world will surely be shocked. But you said it was incomplete?" Jamie Welton spoke. "That's right. An imperfect level 9 spell is only half of its true power." Jamie Welton closed his eyes. "I need you to keep this a secret. The time to reveal it has not yet come." A map of the past appeared in his mind, filled with fierce, thorny beasts. Long ago, the emergence of a 9th-class mage meant all national records were wiped clean. This was surely the work of the 12 churches, fearing the birth of another Diablo Volpia. He pictured that legendary mage in his mind, incredibly handsome, with a deep, knowing gaze. Jamie Welton clenched his fist, his mind racing. To the 12 gods, Diablo Volpia was nothing short of a nightmare. "That's why I can only reveal my power when I've truly mastered it. It's the only way to survive," Jin Moonlight warned. "But what if I told them?" Jamie Welton's expression turned terrifying. His eyes blazed purple as golden mana erupted around him. "Then one of us would have to die, wouldn't we?" he smirked. The atmosphere grew heavy. Jamie Welton asked, "I have one more question. Are you from the same country as Han? Your clothes seem quite similar." Jamie Welton allowed his oppressive mana to fade. Jin Moonlight answered, "That is correct. We both come from an eastern continent called Rio." Jamie Welton recalled the name Rio, a name meaning beautiful and elegant. Though its civilization wasn't as advanced, it was a land of warriors who mastered cold weapons. Yet, this nation also had its share of sorcerers. He wondered aloud, "Are all warriors there equally strong?" Jin sighed. "Not at all. If every warrior was a supreme master, we would have conquered this entire continent by now. Especially since some sorcerers have reached a divine level." Jamie wondered. "Do they call their sword masters experts?" A triangle of power formed in his mind, with the first point being the mystic realm, and the second, the transformation realm. The third was known as the peak, and finally, there were the supreme peak masters. The realms ascended from low to high. The realms, from lowest to highest, were mystic, transformation, and peak, and at the very top, the supreme peak. The pyramid of power materialized in his thoughts. Jamie mused, "If the peak is a master, then a supreme peak must be a grandmaster. But there are those even stronger than him?" A dangerous smile crept onto Jamie's face. "If that's true, then the power of Rio is truly frightening." A scene replayed in his mind. The only one who could possibly defeat Isis was a master from the highest realm. Jamie's smile widened. "So, a grand mage and a supreme peak master are on the same level in Rio." Jin closed his eyes and nodded grimly. "Yes." As Jamie pondered this, a forgotten face suddenly flashed in his mind. I still can't recall his name. But in the past, he was stronger than anyone I ever faced. In terms of swordsmanship, a hazy shadow in his memory spoke of one who reached the final transformation realm 100 years ago. Jin continued, "According to our records, he was the first martial artist to reach this continent. Only his surname was known, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒. At the sound of that name, the hazy figure began to sharpen. A handsome young man with profound eyes pointed his sword directly at Jamie Welton. That man spoke. "Let us have a duel. My surname is 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒." Jamie Welton's expression shifted as a name ignited in his memory. His name was Jun Kyung. I remember now, Jamie thought. Even though he only used a sword against me, Diablo Volpia, he was not an enemy to be underestimated. Jamie stared intently at the phantom blade. The advice he gave me while I practiced my swordplay was incredibly helpful. But is 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒 still out there? Is that surname common? Jin answered. It's rare, but not unheard of. There aren't many different surnames in Rio. I suppose it could just be a coincidence that they both share that name, Jamie said. Thank you. That was very useful information. If I get the chance, I'd like to visit Rio someday. Jin Moonlight replied. Once things have settled down, I will guide you there myself. So, would you like to come to the Frontier headquarters with me? Jamie replied. If you want me to work for Frontier, I've already refused. It's not about work, Jin clarified. I simply thought it would be wonderful if you met Isis, our Grand Mage. A moment of silence passed. Jin pressed on. I'll be leaving in about a week. I hope you'll give me your answer soon. Jamie simply said, I will consider it. Another tense silence filled the air. After Jin left, Jamie Welton turned to the window, repeating the name, the Frontier headquarters. The next day, the mood shifted. An old man with white hair stood before a figure seated at a desk. The war in Harmonia is a victory. The corrupt officials have all been executed. I will send men for further inspection. The king is in exile, and Countess 𝐒𝐿𝐹edo is temporarily leading the government. King 𝐶𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒 of the Freedom Kingdom spoke. That is a family with a long and storied history. He is well suited to rule a nation. King 𝐶𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒 then asked, And what of the Drian Church? The white-haired subordinate replied, There has been no news, Your Majesty. I believe the other churches will soon begin to pressure us. The 12 churches indirectly influence the nations they reside in. There is an unspoken rule that church and state must not interfere with one another. An image flashed of a man with orange hair, surrounded by sharp spears. The Drian Church's brutality had shattered this delicate balance. The 12 churches will surely bring their judgment upon the continent. King 𝐶𝐃𝐄𝐒 of Freedom slammed his fist on the table. He thought grimly, I do not like this. How long will the laws of the 12 churches oppress humanity? King 𝐶𝐃𝐄𝐒 sighed, leaning his head back into his chair. But Jamie Welton has done exceptionally well, despite the heavy burdens I placed upon him. He handled this mission perfectly. A satisfied smile crept onto King 𝐶𝐃𝐄E's face as his subordinate reported. He struck the core forces of the Drian Church. His name is now Welton Jr. King 𝐶𝐃𝐄E chuckled. With this one brilliant move, we've gained Harmonia as an ally and put pressure on the 𝐒𝐃 Church as well. Just then, the subordinate remembered something and presented a letter to King 𝐶𝐃𝐄E. Your Majesty, a letter has arrived from Sir Welton. The king raised an eyebrow. A letter? King 𝐶𝐃𝐄E slowly opened it, reading the words from Jamie. To my dearest Majesty, I am leaving to travel the world and broaden my knowledge. At the bottom was a drawing of Jamie, winking with a finger pointed up. King 𝐶𝐃𝐄E's face twisted into an expression of pure disbelief. His lips trembled. He's just leaving on another trip? Is that the entire message? The subordinate looked helpless. I'm afraid so, Your Majesty. That is all he sent. Then the king's eyes caught a postscript written in the very last corner of the letter. If anything urgent comes up, contact me through this creature. Suddenly, the sound of an animal echoed. A cute blue bird materialized. Speak into here! Speak into here! It chirped. The king and his subordinates stared in utter amazement. The nation of Harmonia quickly stabilized after the purge. The rotten elements were cut away, as corrupt nobles were imprisoned and their assets seized. One noble gritted his teeth, fleeing from the swords of justice. The government's confiscated wealth was repurposed. It was used to save the starving common folk. Count Plato was seen extending a hand to those in need. The destitute people looked on in shock as life returned to the hungry and the hopeless. Those treated like slaves were finally freed to go home. Tears of joy flowed during emotional family reunions. Though some minor issues remained, life for the people had changed with breathtaking speed. Lennon Cam looked around in awe at the prosperity. Laughter echoed through the bustling streets. It's like a completely different country now, he said. Anna Mayer agreed. And it's only been a week. Lennon then gasped, thinking of Count Plato. Count Plato. I heard he's been working non-stop, barely even sleeping these past few days. The Count was buried under mountains of paperwork, his head spinning. Anna sympathized with him. There's just so much to resolve right now, she said. Hera added, but he must be happy. as this nation is finally returning to normal. Anna Mayer nodded in agreement. You're right. A clear voice called out, Hello, kids. Hello, Hera. Anna gasped in surprise. Mr. Henry? There was Henry, looking dapper with his neat hair and powerful armor as he walked toward them. Anna's face lit up. I heard you were appointed commander of the Capitol Guard for your great contribution. Hera bowed politely, but Lennon jumped in playfully. Have you gotten used to that divine beast yet? Henry scratched his head. Not really, Lennon pressed on. How has it been? Henry gave a strained smile. To be honest, I'm not really sure. I've just been so busy. Just as he spoke, a voice called out, Commander, Henry waved. That's my cue. See you all later. Take care. Behind him, everyone waved back with bright smiles. Mr. Henry, stay healthy. Just then, Jamie Welton, the main character, appeared behind them. What are you all doing here? He asked. Hearing his voice, Lennon jumped out of his skin, his face paling like a startled cat. Whoa! You scared me. Master, Hera said calmly. We were just taking a walk. Jamie glanced around. A lot has changed in just 1 week. Hera looked puzzled. Shouldn't you be resting at the royal palace? Why did you come here? Jamie replied. I had something to tell you. I've decided my next destination. I'm returning to the Fran headquarters with Jean. Hearing this, everyone stared back at him, completely bewildered. A collective, huh? Escaped their lips. The sun suddenly felt hotter. Anna pleaded, Can I come with you, Master? Lennon quickly joined in. Me too. Please let us come. They both desperately grabbed their master's sleeves. But Jamie's reply was cold and swift. No. Seeing his students plead relentlessly, Jamie Welton used his magic to push them back, making them yelp. The two collapsed onto the ground, utterly dejected. Lennon spoke up first, with Anna Mayer quickly adding, Master, please, let us go with you. Annoyed by his students' noise, Jamie Welton trapped them in a cubic barrier, their muffled shouts echoing from within. He approached Hera. Please take care of the children. Seeing this, Hera asked, How long will you be gone? Jamie Welton replied with a gentle smile. I think it will be at least 1 month, or possibly a year, Hera said gloomily. But right now, the skill gap between you and your disciples is significant. Jamie Welton said warmly, Exactly. Miss Hera, please teach them for me. Hera waved her hands in refusal. No, I'm not skilled enough for that. Jamie Welton laughed. I know you are more than capable of taking my disciples. After his talk with Hera, Jamie Welton dispelled the barrier holding his 2 students and said, All right. Jamie Welton explained, This journey is extremely arduous, so you cannot accompany me. Anna Mayer began to speak, but before she could finish, Lennon blocked her with his hand. Anna, give it up, he said. With tears in his eyes, Lennon continued, I know you won't let us go with you. I wish you a safe journey. I will do as you ask and await your return. Jamie Welton noticed something unusual about his behavior. Saying those words, It's not like you at all. Lennon shouted in anger. Why do you never believe me when I'm serious? Jamie Welton, who was only teasing Lennon a little, said, I trust you both will do well. He patted Lennon's head. Anna Mayer also said, Then I wish you a safe journey, Master. Lennon kicked a stone away, embarrassed. Don't forget to buy a souvenir when you come back. Then Jamie Welton said, Well, let's say our goodbyes here. The scene changes to the Harmonia border region. The sun had already set on the Harmonia kingdom. Jin and Jamie Welton were leaving Harmonia. Jin looked back and asked, Did you say goodbye to everyone yet? Jamie Welton replied, I have. Where is the headquarters of the Fran organization? Jin answered, It's in Abrazas. One of the 6 forbidden zones, the 6th one, Abrazas. A white temple appeared in the distant forest. Ariaz, a large temple at the northernmost point of the country. A monster with armor made of blue flames stood guard, along with a purple-eyed mammoth. They have long forbidden humans from setting foot here. The place is full of poisonous plants and dangerous monsters, always lurking. A snake was coiled around a toxic flower, its mouth wide open. Jamie Welton asked, Is Isis there? Jin replied, Not right now. 15 days ago, Isis and Bailey were in Harmonia for a while, but they left for some business. Jamie Welton pouted, frustrated. What? We came all the way to the headquarters and still couldn't meet them? Jin turned back and said, It's not like that. They'll be back soon. Jin continued. Wandering across the country to relax is great, isn't it? An image of the sunset sky with birds taking flight. In a village near the Leo Mountains, a prosperous village appeared. Screams rang out. There are monsters! Where are they going? Get out of here! You damn bastards! A group of people gave chase. The two, called monsters, had stones thrown at them relentlessly. The older brother used his body to protect his little sister. She called out weakly. Brother! He whispered back. It's okay. The cruel children shouted. They don't even know their father abandoned them. Everyone says their father is a famous swindler. The sound of the brother's teeth grinding with resentment echoed as he watched the jeering crowd. The older brother gripped his sister's hand tightly and said, We have to go, now. His grip was too tight, causing her to wince with tears in her eyes. Ah, it hurts. The brother bit his lip, holding her close. Damn it. I have to grow up as fast as possible. When that time comes, this damn town will surely be turned upside down. The sun peeked out from behind the long mountain ranges, its warm rays shining on every roof in the peaceful village. Standing at the entrance to the village, Jin voiced his assessment. That village seems quiet today. Jamie nodded slightly and said, Let's go see. The wind blew, and night fell. Under a tall post hung a sign with the word Inn. In the main hall, a man with a thick beard spoke with a friendly tone. Welcome, guest. Opposite him was Jin, who was not very interested. He replied nonchalantly, Give me 2 rooms. At the same time, he dropped a coin into the innkeeper's palm. Payment received. We'll get right on it. The innkeeper immediately turned to his staff and said, Show the guests to their rooms. A female employee who happened to be bringing clean towels upstairs replied cheerfully, Yes, I will take you 2 to the 2nd floor. A moment later, in the inn's dining room, people gathered together, the constant hum of conversation mixed with the clatter of plates. Because there were only 2 of them, they sat facing each other. Jamie watched Jin eat with an expression that was hard to put into words. Don't you find that strange? Who eats with a mask on? It looks so scary. His words made Jin pause for a moment. He was just eating peacefully. Why start something now? Unfazed, Jin coldly said, How does me wearing a mask affect you? With a deep sigh, Jai closed his eyes in resignation. Ah, how embarrassing for others to see this. They said they saw Pinter yesterday. A voice drifted from a nearby table. A girl with chestnut hair spoke. Is it really a curse? Jai's sharp senses caught the key word. A curse? Another, more irritable voice snapped back. Ever since that woman and her 2 children arrived, this village has become strange. We need to kick them out. The middle-aged man at the table gestured wildly, his mood agitated. Across from him, the chestnut-haired girl waved a hand dismissively. That's just speculation, she continued. Don't people always say you shouldn't judge a mage by their appearance? First Jin, and now him. The words struck Jai like an arrow. He went pale, spitting out the water he had just sipped. The spray landed perfectly on Jin's face, drenching him. He grew furious, bending his fork with sheer anger. Jin gritted his teeth, glaring with a dark, murderous gaze. Jai flinched, avoiding that deadly stare and forcing a weak laugh. Sorry, that must have been a coincidence, he said. Jin didn't even look at the boy, wiping his face with a clean cloth as he called out, Bring more beer. The waitress, holding several mugs, immediately replied, Yes, sir. Will your companion be having anything else? Jai spoke up. That's fine. What was this curse they were talking about? He turned his head toward the other table. The waitress followed his gaze. Oh, that? She began her tale. After the mother and her children moved here, a ghost started appearing in the village. As she spoke, an image formed of a massive phantom looming over the small family. The waitress continued. Even though everyone drove them out, villagers with flaming torches stared them down with hostile eyes. The village children even threw stones as they left. Her voice was flat, but the ghost kept appearing. The waitress looked at him and concluded, Everyone started saying the village was cursed, so travelers stopped coming here. After hearing the story, Jin nodded. Something strange has definitely happened here. Ji's eyes darted around thoughtfully, while the waitress, her job done, left the beer and turned to leave, adding a final word. In any case, you shouldn't stay in this village for long. You never know what might happen next. Jai's gaze was heavy. He rested his chin on his hand, thinking, a ghost and a cursed family? Time slipped by. Jai sat on his bed, legs crossed as he looked out the window. Where should I start my investigation? He murmured, then closed his eyes. The entire village appeared in his mind, like a wireframe map, showing nothing but outlines. If ghosts truly exist, I would know immediately, Jamie mused, scanning the village's ancient architecture when a bizarre energy began to swirl down the path. A faint smirk appeared on Jemmy's face. So, it's hiding over there? Without a second thought, he went to investigate. The air grew frigid, and he noted the dense, sinister aura blanketing the area. Jemmy vowed to uncover this mystery, but he couldn't help but feel a surge of surprise. This level of dark energy surpassed any normal graveyard. Only a truly powerful spirit could generate such a chilling presence. The terrifying image of a demon flashed in his mind. If it was a malevolent spirit, he knew, it would inevitably harm humans. Suddenly, Jai sensed something. A faint sound, yet carrying no malice. He frowned at the dark energy seeping from behind the wall. The demonic aura here is heavy, he murmured. He dashed into the heart of the darkness where the aura was strongest, a thought striking him. This must be connected to the spirit summoners. Before him materialized a soul steeped in death, its limbs indistinct, shifting like smoke in the wind with no solid form. Jemmy thought, there you are, take me to your master. Jemmy's eyes transformed, glowing a mystical purple just like the magic erupting from his hand as the energy shot out. It soared forward, only to be blocked. The demon soul's face twisted as it unleashed a sonic wave, shattering his attack. Jemmy was stunned. It could withstand his power? A spark of interest lit up in Jai's eyes. He smirked and lowered his hand, thinking, and here I thought this era's spirit masters were all trash. Any power, no matter how great, will be consumed by one that is greater. With that, Jemmy raised his hand to unleash his first authority. Heaven-defying art, he chanted, summoning a magic formation. Countless circles, large and small, materialized behind him. A torrent of chains shot out, so fast they stirred a wind that made Jemmy's coat flutter. Bind him, he commanded. Instantly, the iron chains moved as if they had a will of their own, obeying Jai. They surged forward, forcefully binding the demon soul. The creature struggled, letting out a hoarse scream. You may be strong, but I too command the spirits. How could your power ever match mine? Jai spoke, his hand ablaze with magic, tightening chains that forced the ghost to its knees. A thought crossed Jemmy's mind. This way, he could cast a subjugation spell and track the necromancer, but his eyes shot wide in disbelief as the spell before him shattered into nothing. All that remained before Jemmy was a mess of broken chains. The bound spirit had vanished. He wondered, did it disappear the instant I reverse summoned it? Jemmy snapped his fingers, his expression one of pure fascination. Such defiance, he mused. Its loyalty must be absolute. Turning away with a soft sigh, Jemmy spoke. This is getting interesting. I'll tell Jin we're extending our stay. The next day, under a clear sky, a boy named Fian was running for his life. He desperately glanced around as he fled. Fian ducked into a shop and called out, Mister! To which the owner replied, Fian, is it 2 portions like always? The boy flashed a bright smile. Make it 3 today, please, and placed a few coins on the table. The owner turned to grab the food, smiling back at the boy. Coming right up, looking at the 3 silver coins, Fibian silently calculated. This was just enough for 1 week. Suddenly, a voice startled Fibian from his thoughts. Are you that miserable brat, Fibian? He whirled around as 2 thugs with cruel faces stepped in. Because of you, one snarled. I can't even go out at night. How infuriating. The other added with a sneer. Why should good people like us have to suffer just because your family is cursed? Fian's anger flared as he yelled back, "My family is not cursed." The scowling thug lunged forward, his fist connecting squarely with the boy's face. He roared, "Who are you raising your voice at?" Fibian fell to his knees in pain, only to be yanked up by his collar. The brute laughed, knocking the boy's hat off. "Let's just see if killing you finally breaks this curse." His partner, watching the show from behind, erupted in laughter. "Yeah, do it." Fibian clutched the hand holding his collar, his cheek already red and swollen. He shut his eyes and screamed, "Please, someone help me." Seeing the boy's terror, the thug's grin stretched wider. He raised his fist. "Who in their right mind would help a haunted brat?" he roared. "Just go to hell." Fian squeezed his eyes shut tighter, tears starting to fall. But then, a familiar shadow fell over the scene. Jamie's hand caught the descending fist. His eyes were cold as he spoke. "This child has done nothing." With a sickening crunch, Jamie's grip tightened, shattering the bones in the thug's hand and making him squeal like a stuck pig. "Ah!" he screamed. Jamie then casually tossed the man into his friend, sending them both crashing into the shop door. Jamie closed his eyes, dusting his hands off. "I was wondering what all the morning noise was about. So, it was you two." He glanced at the two pathetic figures trembling on the ground, unable to even stand. Jamie spoke coolly. "Whatever your reasons, hurting a child must be punished." A wicked smile played on his lips as he raised a hand, cheerfully uttering a single word: pain. Instantly, a sickly green aura erupted from his palm. The energy coiled like a serpent around the two thugs. They let out a unified shriek, then collapsed onto the floor. "Arg!" Jamie watched, thinking perhaps he'd been a little too harsh. Then, a weak voice called out, "Sir?" Jamie turned to meet Fibian's tear-filled gaze. The boy's cheeks were swollen and red, his small body trembling pitifully. Fian's voice shook. "Thank you for saving me." That's when Jamie finally placed him. "This is the child from that cursed family? What is he doing here?" he said abruptly. "Here, let me see that cheek," and reached out a hand. A soft golden light began to glow. Fian gasped in disbelief. "Huh? The wound. It's..." Jamie offered him a brilliant, disarming smile. "I'm a priest, sent here by the church," he explained. "It is my duty to help those in peril. It seems your family has been greatly misunderstood." Jamie had somehow already retrieved the boy's hat. He bowed slightly, that same smile on his face, as he offered it to Fian. "Would you like my help with that?" he asked. Fibian could only stare up at him, completely stunned. In what felt like an instant, the sky darkened, and they were in a forest of bare, twisted branches. Fibian led the way, a bag of bread clutched to his chest as Jamie followed. Jamie's eyes scanned the area, a heavy, dark presence chilling the air. Wind howled across the barren land. A lone scarecrow, its wooden frame long since rotted, stood guard over the decay. They live in a place like this? Jamie wondered. Reaching a battered old house, Fibian hurried to open the door. "Sir, this is my home. Please, come inside." "Of course," Jamie replied. Once inside, the boy immediately placed the bread on a table. He then rushed upstairs, calling out, "Mom, I'm home. It's Fian." Jamie stepped further in, taking in his surroundings. In the bedroom, a woman of gentle beauty sat on the edge of her bed. She smiled warmly. "Fian, is that you, my son?" Beside her, a bright-faced little girl hugged the woman, cheerfully greeting Fibian. "That's his mother, Irina, and his sister, Fiona." Fibian rushed to his mother, his voice filled with hope. "Mother, we have a guest. This priest can drive out the village's evil spirits." Only then did Irina notice someone behind her son. She couldn't see his face clearly. "Huh? Is that really true?" Jamie offered a gentle smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm from the P.O. Church." He smiled and raised a hand in greeting. "My name is Ricky." But in his palm, a strange symbol glowed, projecting a different face entirely. Irina looked worried. Why would a holy man like him come to such a tainted place? But Fibian was ecstatic, clenching his fists. "It's true, Mother. Look," he insisted. "Just hours ago, I was beaten and injured, but he healed my wounds instantly. With that, he eagerly presented his face for his mother to see. Irina reached for her son's face, but gasped, covering her mouth in disbelief. Wow, the wound is completely gone. She immediately stood and bowed deeply to him. Thank you so much. A wound like that would have cost a fortune to treat. Money I don't have. Jamie simply smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. Haha, it was nothing at all. Nearby, Fiona beamed, clinging to her brother's arm. I am merely acting on the goddess's will. That's what he said. But inside, Jamie's face was burning up. He clenched his fist, thinking, damn it, that sounded so cheesy. He cleared his throat. I heard your family is the reason ghosts have appeared in this village. Jamie opened his palm, and a brilliant golden light erupted, almost too bright to look at. He continued, would you allow me to confirm if those rumors are true? Irina was silent for a moment, then turned to her children. Fiona, Fibian, go play for a while. This is a conversation for adults. Fibian didn't understand, but he obeyed. Yes, I understand. Once the wooden door was shut, Irina walked to the bedside. She bent down, pulling out a box with both hands. From a low-seated position, Irina explained, when I came to this village, I met a priest who gave me this. She opened the box, revealing a silver cross inside. In a steady voice, Irina recalled, he said it would protect my family from evil spirits. Jemmy, sitting low, thought, I can feel the holy power within that relic, though I don't know who it belonged to. Jemmy replied with a neutral expression. Irina's face darkened as she confirmed it. Yes, the rumors in the village, they are true. Jemmy then asked, why are these spirits pursuing your family? Irina replied sadly, I don't know the details, only that it has something to do with the children's father. He was a knight commander for the kingdom of 𝐄𝐄𝐒𝐻, Irina recounted, describing a stern man in silver armor with moss-green hair. However, she said, a coup d'état occurred. My husband was killed protecting the kingdom of 𝐄𝐄𝐻, 𝐒𝐄𝐒𝐻. 3 years ago, the throne was left empty when the king fell ill. One of the princes staged a coup, sparking a civil war. That prince then became king, severing all ties with the previous royal bloodline. He built a new castle, ushering in a new dynasty. Irina concluded, I suspect everything began from that moment. Jemmy stroked his chin in thought. The kingdom of 𝐄𝐄𝐻 was far in the western part of the 𝐒𝐄𝐻𝐍𝐃 continent, a great distance from this northern village. This was just the family of a former knight commander, only a woman and her children. Jemmy's eyes narrowed. Why would they command a necromancer to send spirits after this family, all the way out here? Are they trying to pull out the roots? He wondered. On a support beam overhead, a long rope was coiled. I understand now. It's a truly sad story. Jemmy declared, I will help your family find freedom. Irina looked up, stunned, and asked, what do I need to do? I need you to be the bait, Jemmy said, turning away with a profound smile. Lure the spirits to me. Time passed, and a new day dawned, bright and clear. Outside the old house, Irina and her 2 children bowed to Jamie. I'm putting my family's fate in your hands, she said. Jamie accepted her plea with a nod. Of course, you have nothing to worry about. Fibian, standing closest to him, placed a hand on his chest. Sir, thank you for healing me, and for helping our family. Jemmy ruffled the boy's hair. All right, since you're the man of the house, you need to protect it. No matter what happens today, do not go outside. Jemmy gave one final, solemn warning. As the sun set, Jemmy stood on high ground, observing the village. The relic's power, he mused, has a radius of about 300 meters from Fibian's house. Evil mana and black magic. Creations of Diablo Villa. The face of his old master, Gap, flashed in his mind. He thought, the seeds I planted in my past life still remain in this one. An image of the first king, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐻, appeared in his thoughts. Then, he pictured the demonic spirits. Can I truly capture all of them? Jamie wondered. If I take it one step at a time, perhaps one day it will be done. Standing in the windswept field, Jamie's eyes were sharp with calculation. He summoned a small current of power into his palm, and an orb of light immediately formed in his hand. Dark magic surged around Jai. Should he use his current subordinates? He would summon the Gate of Rebellion. A colossal gate appeared in the shadows, a great eye staring from its center. Bound by chains, it slammed to the ground, shattering the earth below. Jemmy thought to himself, all it takes is one incantation to open the gate and call them forth. The lock shattered, releasing the chains. Come out, Azat, Liza, and Asta. At his command, the great eye opened. From a pillar of dark light, 3 figures emerged. They drew their weapons in unison, their faces cold and fierce. Jai just raised a single, unimpressed eyebrow. With a deadpan look, he clenched his fist. You idiots! Why draw your swords in broad daylight? Put them away! Now! Liza instantly obeyed, sheathing her sword. Azat hid his weapon behind his back. Asta, however, overreacted completely. He flinched like a boiled shrimp, covering his head. Jai then turned to him. Your master is speaking. Where are you looking? Asta scratched his head with a nervous laugh. It's just been so long since I've been outside. I'm a little excited, that's all. 5 years ago, Asta was an assassin for a group that supplied an illegal drug, Abophis X, to the magic community. He was caught, dragged by his collar, then thrown into the Gate of Rebellion, becoming one of Jemmy's undead minions. Back in the present, Jai issued his command. I have a mission for you. Watch for any strange presences in this area. At his word, Liza sniffed the air. Master, you're right, there's a strange scent. As Jai turned to leave, Asta quickly asked, Master, where are you going? Jai glanced back, his voice flat. If I'm here, it won't appear. I must leave. Understood. His followers bowed in respect. Asta spoke for the group. Yes, Master. We will report any signs immediately. Jemmy's body began to fade as he teleported. His final words echoed, Contact me at once. Elsewhere, as darkness cloaked the village, a figure in purple armor walked a deserted road, a demonic aura pouring from its form. It walked with purpose, muttering darkly, It's incomplete. The order must be fulfilled. Behind it, countless spirits rose from the ground, their forms thick with malevolent energy. The air grew heavy, thick with their power. Suddenly, the large gem on its necklace began to glow with a brilliant purple light. Sparks of pure energy crackled around the stone. The demonic warrior unleashed a wave of furious power, its eyes glowing from within its dark helmet. It crushed the pendant in its fist. A series of explosions erupted around it, kicking up clouds of dust and smoke. Instantly, the ghost army and its leader vanished. At an inn, Jin calmly sipped his beer. He stared at the night sky through the window. What a chilling feeling, he thought. He could sense the spirits of the dead. Jamie Welton had said, he'll take care of it, so it should be fine. Despite those words, Jin felt a deep unease. He set his mug down with a heavy thud. In less than half a second, the inn's waitress appeared, wearing a perfect, practiced smile. She asked, Would you like another beer, sir? Jin replied coolly, No, thank you. Then he asked, How long have you worked here? The waitress held her tray and thought for a moment. For about 2 years now. Jin observed her, a thought forming in his mind. The villagers here were all grim, affected by the spirit's energy. But this girl was special. She seemed untouched by the external forces, maintaining a constant, positive air. He stood up, speaking with few words. I see. I'm leaving. The hospitable girl asked. Are you sure you don't want anything else? Back at Arena's house, her 3 children were inside. Outside, Jamie's 3 minions stood guard. The night wind howled, rustling the grass. Asta sensed it first, his voice sharp. That energy, it's growing much denser. Liza closed one eye, feeling the change in the wind. Will they be all right? How can a normal person endure this? The master cast a spell so they would sleep. They should be perfectly fine. Inside the bedroom, a gentle, golden magic barrier shimmered in the air, protecting the sleeping family. Azat spoke, his tone urgent. I can't contact the master. Liza was horrified, her face filled with worry. Really? That's impossible. Asta's face became a grim, dark mask. He growled through gritted teeth. They're here. Before them, a horde of ghostly soldiers materialized, their spiritual pressure immense. Armored and armed, they stared them down. Liza eyed the ghost platoon, unimpressed. So, what do we do now? Asta snapped back irritably. Why are you asking me? His gaze focused as he mumbled. Strange. He then asked with suspicion, These are just early-stage evil spirits, right? He observed the specter's dark aura, adding, If a spirit master was controlling them, they couldn't possibly keep their forms this complete. The expressions of the three suddenly twisted, becoming ferocious as a murderous aura enveloped them. Asta said fiercely, We just need to kill them all, don't we? Veins bulged on his forehead as his eyes hardened in response. Correct. We can't let them near the house. The three of us will annihilate them. With that, he drew his weapon and charged the enemy, flashing a grin that revealed teeth as sharp as a man-eating demon's. His eyes flashed with blood-red light, hungry for the impending slaughter. Meanwhile, far away on a barren, lifeless plain, the wind whipped at a blue coat. Jai stood with one hand on his hip, as if he'd been waiting. He spoke up. Was my guess wrong? It was unbelievable. A dark knight was the true mastermind. The eyes from within the helms stared back at him with an eerie glow. The brutal warrior unleashed a murderous pressure, its sinister aura warping the very air. The eyes in its helm burned with an unnatural white light. To be precise, this was a dark knight, a high-level undead being that possessed terrifying power. Jem glanced away, thinking, but why target that family? As more specters approached, he decided, I guess I'll have to force the answers out. Jem pointed his sword directly at the Dark Knight and asked calmly, Why appear before me? Your target is nowhere near here. The Dark Knight remained silent. If you won't answer, he said, channeling dark magic into his weapon, then I'll have no choice but to use my authority. Suddenly, the pendant on the Dark Knight's neck flared to life. It was a large gem, carved into a skull. Its eyes burned with a terrifying light as a voice boomed, All who obstruct must be eliminated. The command echoed. The knight instantly lunged forward, raising its sword to strike Jemmy. Jemmy's eyes widened as a realization hit him. Dark mana? He thought. The sword descended with immense power, and Jemmy dodged it in a flash. A faint smile touched his lips. Whatever, Jemmy said, dropping into his stance. His sword was enveloped in dense, dark magic. His face grew serious as he issued a bold challenge. I will make you my subordinate. Two terrifying streams of power clashed, neither willing to yield an inch. That control over dark mana and master-level swordsmanship, Jamie Welton thought. He readied his blade, preparing to launch his attack. The battle raged fiercely. From within the Dark Knight, countless evil spirits erupted. Jamie Welton said, You have reinforcements? He then summoned the staff Avalon and declared, Then have a taste of this, you wretched souls. Then, Jamie Welton used Avalon to cast Divine Outburst, a basic holy art used by priests. A blinding golden light exploded outwards, completely obliterating the Dark Knight's spirits. Jamie Welton taunted, You can't do anything to me with such low-level undead. But the Dark Knight? It was like a soulless puppet, repeating one phrase, Eliminate the enemy. Jamie Welton smiled and continued, I thought you were just inexperienced. But now I understand. You're not a spirit who gained power over time. You were born powerful by absorbing that family's dark mana. Jamie Welton unleashed his heaven-defying authority, sending a devastating attack hurtling towards the Dark Knight. Jamie Welton stated, I know you're no pushover. But in the end, he roared, you're just a Dark Knight who has barely been in this world. You're still too green. In an instant, Jamie Welton appeared above the knight, his sword poised for the finishing blow. Jamie Welton's blade slammed down, shattering the very earth. But the Dark Knight was faster, narrowly dodging the blow. The knight launched an instant counterattack. Yet Jamie remained unfazed, speaking with absolute calm. A decent strike, he commented. But then Jamie unleashed his exotic skill. Avalon Reverse World. The tides of battle shifted instantly. The Dark Knight was utterly overwhelmed, its shock palpable. Jamie declared, To fight a battle mage, you'll need much more than that. His sword pierced the Dark Knight's armor. A sharp cry of pain echoed from within. A victorious smirk played on Jamie's lips. He then summoned his final technique, Lightning Bird, for a decisive blow. The knight's dark armor began to crack and splinter. As it shattered and fell away, it revealed a surprising truth. The warrior inside was a young, blonde woman. Jamie was stunned. A girl? Weakened, she collapsed to the ground, but her eyes blazed with defiance. "Don't interfere. I must complete my mission." Jamie realized, if she's a high-level Dark Knight, she must be fully awakened. But why does she feel like a vengeful spirit, so recently formed? Could my power have caused this? Jamie Welton sheathed his sword, his mind racing. Still, did she even need to be trained? Looking down from above, Jamie Welton addressed the Dark Knight. "Stop wandering and tormenting the living. Become my subordinate." A hand cloaked in dark mana reached out, descending upon the Dark Knight's head. The Dark Knight weakly closed her eyes, murmuring, My mission." Suddenly, an immense power erupted from her once more. She screamed into the void, "I must complete my orders." The scene flashed to the royal castle, a stage for a bloody, horrific tragedy. Corpses of soldiers lay strewn across the room amid the chaos of battle, as a cry rang out, "Kill them all! Leave no one alive!" A soldier in heavy armor reported frantically, "Commander, the enemy has broken through." Another, breathless from the brutal fighting, added, "Their numbers are overwhelming." The commander said to hold them off, no matter the cost. The commander of the kingdom's knightly order, Venos Green, was clutching the crown prince's infant son, roaring, "We have to get the prince's son out of here, by any means necessary." An older man in armor then appeared with his troops. This was the vice-commander of the Royal Knights. 𝐿𝐵𝐻. "Stop this foolish dream," he sneered. "The fourth prince has already beheaded the crown prince. The coup is a success." 𝐿𝐵𝐻 spoke to Venos Green. "If you hand over the crown prince's son, I will spare your life." But Venos Green's face was like stone. "Vice-commander, would you truly murder a newborn child?" Venos looked at the prince's son, sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the crumbling world around him, and thought, if the crown prince is gone, his son is the only remaining heir. I must save this child to preserve the royal bloodline. With sharp eyes, Venos Green called out, "Bianca!" A female knight appeared, answering, "Yes, Commander." This was the very same Dark Knight Jamie Welton now faced. Venos Green entrusted the infant to her with a solemn command. "No matter the cost, you must protect this child. He is the sole heir. The very survival of this nation depends on him." Bianca was stunned. "Commander." But 𝐿𝐵𝐻 had lost his patience, drawing his sword to attack while shouting, "Venos, don't do something so pointless." Venos Green drew his own sword, clashing with the traitor, 𝐿𝐵𝐻. He roared to Bianca, "Bianca, go now, you must survive." 𝐿𝐵𝐻's face twisted with malice. "You damn fool." Venos Green ignored 𝐿𝐵𝐻, continuing his final orders to Bianca. "Take the prince's son to my wife and tell her everything." But Bianca hesitated with worry, saying, "But I can't just escape on my own like this." The other knights formed a wall before Bianca, their faces set with the resolve to sacrifice everything. "Bianca," they said, "do not defy your orders. We will defeat them and follow. Now hurry, run." Trembling, Bianca took the child and finally accepted. "I will obey your command." Shielding the prince's son with her body, Bianca shattered a window and leaped outside. The enemy immediately shouted, "Capture her! Don't let her escape!" Bianca ran with all her might, clutching the infant heir. She dared not stop, even as her lungs burned. Her mind was fixed on one goal: I must reach the Green Estate and tell them what happened. Bianca never saw the archer waiting on the cliffs above, drawing his bow and aiming at her fleeing form. An arrow flew, piercing straight through her armor and into her body. Bianca froze, then collapsed to the ground. The prince's son was thrown from her arms, waking with a startled, loud cry. As Bianca struggled to rise, another arrow was shot. She could only watch in horror as the newborn prince was struck down, blood spraying into the air. A scream of pure agony tore from her throat. No, the heartless traitors had shot the child with 3 arrows. Trembling, Bianca crawled toward the prince's body, her words a pained whisper, No, I must complete my mission. She remembered her commander and comrades, who had stayed behind to fight so she could escape. Bianca whispered, I cannot die here. Her vision blurred, then faded into blackness. A surge of power erupted from the castle, a surge that rushed straight into Bianca's body. In that moment, the Dark Knight was born. That same energy wrapped around the fallen prince, sealing his essence into a round pendant. The Dark Knight picked up the necklace and declared, I must complete my mission. After witnessing Bianca's memories, Jamie Welton finally understood. So, she wasn't trying to kill Fibian's family after all. Jamie realized Bianca's despair had awakened the dark mana, but he still didn't understand why his own mana was present in this kingdom. He thought, her obsession with that order is too powerful. If I leave her like this, she'll lose all reason and become a fearsome, evil spirit. Bianca continued to repeat the same phrase, over and over, I must complete my mission. Jamie Welton said, I will help you find peace. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Jans, Philip, Rai, and Asta were locked in a relentless battle. Jans gritted his teeth in frustration. These fiends are weak, but there are too many, Philip Ra urged. Don't lose heart. Less complaining, more fighting, Asta yelled. Jamie then turned to Bianca. Go, fulfill the mission you were given. The one you seek is waiting there. At his words, Bianca's spirit appeared before a small, dilapidated cottage. Her mission was to deliver the Crown Prince's son to Green's wife, and tell her everything that had transpired. She knocked on the cottage door. I am Royal Knight, Bianca Andre. In her arms, she cradled the young Crown Prince. I am here to fulfill an order from Commander Venus Green. When Irina opened the door, she gasped in shock. Knight Bianca? How did you find us? But Bianca didn't answer, focused only on her duty. Lady Green, your husband and his comrades are fighting the enemy at the royal castle as we speak. She continued, you must take the prince and flee. There's still a chance to plan for the future. Confused and frightened, Irina stammered. What are you saying? That was years ago. Then, a voice only Irina could hear spoke. Just do as she says, milady. Irina froze. That voice. It belonged to the priest. Jamie's voice reached her mind alone. Bianca's lingering spirit stands before you. Heed her words, so she may finally find peace. Heartbreak in her eyes, Irina played along, trembling. Knight Bianca, did you just come from the castle, and you're entrusting the prince to me? Bianca replied, yes. I fought the enemy, followed my commander's orders, and came straight here. Tears streamed down Irina's face as she embraced the knight's spirit, her voice thick with sorrow. You did so well. You did so well. Unknowingly, tears fell from Bianca's eyes too. My lady, I came here all alone. My commander, my comrades, they're still back there. Irina soothed her. It's all right. They would understand. Irina told Bianca, so, please, go and rest now. Everyone is waiting for you. I'm so sorry, Bianca whispered. At last, Bianca broke down, weeping like a child as tears streamed endlessly down her face. She confessed her deepest regrets, failing her commander, dying on her way here, and causing Lady Irina so much hardship. With her confession complete, Bianca's form dissolved into motes of golden light, finally fading away on the wind. Elsewhere, Jans, Philip, Ra, and Asta stood on guard. Jans was the first to notice. The undead. They vanished. Philip Ra wondered aloud, does that mean our master defeated the necromancer? Jamie's voice reached them. Stay put. I'll be back once I've settled things here, Philip replied. Understood. Jamie Welton approached Irina, offering a gentle, approving smile. You did well, Lady Irina. But there was no relief on her face, only worry. You knew everything, didn't you? She continued. About Bianca's spirit. Being bound to my family all this time? Jamie shook his head. I didn't know at first. I only understood after arriving here. Irina lowered her gaze. I see. Then, tears began to trace paths down her cheeks. With a heartbroken sob, she choked out. Bianca yearned for a future, one that could never be. Every single day must have been a living hell for her. But perhaps it's for the best, she murmured. She didn't have to see her loved ones fall, or watch our enemy take the throne. Irina clutched her own wrist, thinking how Bianca's nightmare had finally ended. But her own cruel reality remained. Her husband was gone, her nation lost, and she was left to survive in this terrifying world. She looked up, her eyes empty and exhausted. If I were to die now, I wonder if I would find peace. Death is meaningless, Jamie stated bluntly. He met her gaze, his own eyes serious. It solves nothing. It only leaves behind more regret. Irina closed her eyes and said, "You speak as if you've already died once." Suddenly, Fabian and Fiona rushed to embrace a startled Irina. The two children wailed, "Mother, you can't die! Don't leave us, please!" Irina was moved to tears once more. Irina knelt, pulling them into a hug. "I'm not going anywhere. How could I ever leave my children behind?" Watching the emotional reunion, Jamie Welton felt a bit awkward. He simply scratched his head with a forced smile. He thought, I should probably give them some space. But then, something on the ground caught Jamie's eye. It was a necklace with a round pendant. A flicker of suspicion crossed his mind. He quickly glanced toward Irina, but she and the children were still lost in their embrace. A moment later, Jamie Welton rejoined the group with Jans, Philip Ra, and Asta. Philip Ra acknowledged his return. Master Jans then asked, "So, is everything settled?" "A rather tragic tale," Jamie calmly replied. With a snap of his fingers, a teleportation gate materialized. Jamie addressed Philip Ra's group. "You've all done well. You may leave now." The three responded in unison before vanishing through the gate. Once he was alone, Jamie produced the necklace. "I thought you had already passed on to the other side." In response, Jamie looked up at her. "Why do you remain in the mortal world? Hasn't your final wish been granted?" Bianca landed softly and answered, "I have unfinished business. If I leave now, I could never face my comrades in the afterlife." Then, Bianca clenched her fist, her expression filled with grim determination. "Those bastards are still parading around the castle. I will teach them the meaning of despair." A menacing, swirling aura of power erupted from Bianca's entire being. Jamie thought to himself, she possesses enough power to incite a war. But he coldly stated, "Such a childish thought." Rationally, he added, "The undead cannot run rampant in this world. If the 12 gods sense your presence, their holy knights will subdue you long before you reach that castle." "Unwilling to yield," Bianca shouted. "I don't care. I will run them all through with my sword." Unexpectedly, Jamie simply said, "Then come with me." His words left Bianca completely stunned. Jamie continued, "I will help you get your revenge." Bianca gasped in disbelief. "What is this?" She could feel it, an immense, seemingly infinite power. Jamie was cloaked in an abyss of terrifying energy. "I cannot join forces with one who wields such sinister power," she thought. As if reading her mind, Jamie chuckled. "I am not the dark mage that you believe me to be." Bianca was bewildered. "What are you talking about?" Jamie revealed a sigil on his palm, which glowed with a golden light. "I trust you recognize this symbol?" Bianca was shocked. "That is the symbol of Po." She remembered it, now. When she first saw him, he was using divine power. The holy radiance was so blindingly brilliant, she couldn't bear it. She had been forced to look away. Jamie declared, "I am the Saint of Po." After giving Bianca a moment to process, Jamie lowered his hand. Bianca could finally look at him again. "Dark mages are the enemy of humanity. You truly seem more like a holy figure." Jamie smiled. "That's because the power I used is a bit different. It belonged to my previous body." Suddenly, Bianca felt a strange resonance within her own body, and she wondered in shock. Is the dark mana inside me reacting to him? With a serious gaze, Jamie asked again, "Now, choose. Will you come with me, or not?" Bianca considered her options. This might be her last chance to avenge her comrades. She would have to make a deal with this devil. Taking the gamble, Bianca declared, "I will form a contract with you." A satisfied smile touched Jamie's lips. Let the contract begin. A dark light flared, and Bianca was reborn as a shadow knight. She knelt on one knee before Jamie in a vow of submission, her voice ringing out. I, Knight Bianca Andre, pledge my eternal loyalty to you as your subordinate. Jaime unsheathed his sword and spoke her name, Bianca Andre. Jaime proclaimed, I shall regard you as my knight. Bianca replied, I swear to sacrifice everything for you, my lord. My lord, Jaime Welton thought. I've brought Bianca to the gate. Ra will guide her from here. As Jaime walked away, he wondered, has the Fibian family calmed down by now? From a small, dilapidated shack, he heard a mother's voice vow to try her best once more. Inside, Irina and her 2 children were gathered around a small, round table. In this warm scene, Irina smiled. Mommy will work hard so my precious children can eat and wear whatever they like. Fibian took Irina's hand dutifully. I'll also do my best to help you, Mom. Fiona then jumped up happily, exclaiming, Me too! Me too! Outside, Jaime Welton overheard their conversation as Irina's voice rang out. Come here. My children are the absolute best. He realized she had chosen to live on, to become the pillar her children needed. A smile touched his lips as he remembered his own family. He'd known that same warmth, and he wanted them to have it too. These feelings were still so unfamiliar. Shaking his head, Jaime Welton knocked on the door and announced himself. Miss Irina, it's me. Irina opened the door, a look of surprise on her face. Oh, Father, where have you been? I wanted to thank you, but you vanished. Jaime Welton replied with a gentle smile. Ah, I had some business to attend to. Irina presented Jaime with a necklace. Its pendant was a large, brilliant red diamond that looked priceless. It may not seem like much, Irina said, but this was a gift from my late husband. You've done so much for me, so please take this as a token of my gratitude. Jaime quickly raised his hand to refuse, his expression troubled. I can't possibly accept something so meaningful. Please, you must keep it. One day, you should give it to your children. Jaime then said, Instead, could I see that cross necklace from before one last time? Irina was surprised he'd noticed such a simple object. If you need it, she said, then please, take it. Accepting the necklace with a cross pendant, Jaime said, Thank you. He then turned to Irina. Lady Irina, take your children to Harmonia. Irina repeated his words. The Harmonia Kingdom? Jaime handed her a scroll and replied, Yes, show this to the fortress commander in the capital. He will provide you with a place to stay. Why would a commander help us find shelter? Irina asked. Jaime just scratched his head with a laugh. Let's just say we go way back. Irina asked timidly, Why are you helping me so much? Jaime simply replied, I just felt like it. There's no special reason. She pressed further. Could you at least tell me your real name? Asterisk. So she saw through my lie. Asterisk, Jaime thought. Outwardly, he remained calm. I am J. Farewell. In an instant, he vanished like the wind. Irina called out, but it was too late. Wait. Staring at the empty space, Irina whispered, He's gone. Meanwhile, Jaime mused to himself. I've been doing way too many good deeds lately. He rubbed his chin, examining the cross necklace. Now, whose divine power is sealed in this thing? It's too faint to trace. Honestly, Jaime couldn't distinguish the divinity of all 12 of the gods. A contract of deception. His sworn enemy, Zenith, master of the divine beast Basilic, Drian the dragon god, Graman, and the sun god were the only gods whose power he recognized. Aside from them, he hadn't encountered many other gods. But if he analyzed this, he was sure to find answers. After analyzing the cross necklace, Jaime frowned at the energy now pulsating in his hand. This is... He thought that if he didn't know better, he might have unleashed his dark mana. He wondered, what is this energy? It wasn't the divinity of the 12 gods. The cross pendant in his hand was now cracked and damaged. Asterisk. Could it be... Asterisk, he wondered. Asterisk, that there's a 13th god I don't know about. Asterisk. At that thought, a flicker of concern crossed his face. He quickly forced himself to calm down. He needed to focus and recall which god this divine power belonged to. Suddenly, the symbol of an elder god flashed in his mind. The first image that came to him was an elder god, but as far as he knew, none of them were still alive. The 12 gods had dominated them and wiped them all out. His thoughts faltered, uncertainty clouding his judgment. So it's possible a new god has appeared. Instantly, the goddess Pyrrho came to mind. He stared at the symbol in his palm, hesitating and weighing his options. Should I ask Pyrrho about this? Suddenly, Jamie clenched his fist around the symbol, dismissing the idea. He said it was no good, that would be far too risky. His thoughts then turned to Isis. He considered that as the leader of Frantia, she knew many of the world's hidden secrets. She might know what this is. Jamie glanced at the symbol one last time and said, "For now, let's get some sleep." At that moment, inside the Gate of Defiance, a fierce battle was raging, and a voice cried out in despair, I'm going to die." It turned out to be Bianca, Andre, and Johns, locked in a sword duel. Johns lunged at Bianca, swinging his sharp blade down to attack her, but like a flash of lightning, she reacted instantly and dodged aside. He gritted his teeth in frustration. "Damn it, how are you so fast?" "Heh, try fighting with your sword, not your mouth." Ryer watched their fight and shook his head, looking bored. Ryer commented, "Although he's losing, his skills aren't half bad." As for Asada, he was already defeated by Bianca, lying in a heap on the ground. Jans mustered all his strength to thrust his sword straight at Bianca Andre. But whether from the gap in power or Bianca's blinding speed, she evaded every single attack. Finally, Bianca counterattacked, landing a swift punch to Jans's stomach that sent him flying in agony. Then, Bianca blew on her knuckles, glancing at Jans, clutching his stomach on the ground. With contempt, she said, "And as for you, you couldn't even scuff my collar." After defeating Jans, Bianca aimed her weapon at Ryer and said, "Are you looking for a fight, too?" Ryer held up a hand, refusing. The outcome would be the same as theirs. "Why waste our time?" Bianca Andre replied. "Wiser than the rest, I see." Up above, Jamie Welton had witnessed the entire exchange. He'd only come to observe, never expecting Azat and Asta to be no match for her. Jamie then landed gracefully and spoke. "Even Ryer feels the need to concede?" Startled by his sudden arrival, they both turned to greet him. "Master, you've arrived," Jamie continued. "Have introductions been made yet?" Ryer let out a sigh, scratching his head with an awkward look. "We haven't exactly had the time for that." Jamie smirked at Jans and Asta. "Because of those two eager fighters?" Ryer's helpless expression said it all. "Yes," Jamie then pointed, beginning the formalities. "This is the commander of the Andes Legion." Next, he gestured to Bianca Andre. "And this is the Dark Knight, our newest member, Bianca Andre." Hearing this, a feisty Ryer whispered into Jamie's ear, "Hasn't she already ascended?" Jamie smiled helplessly in response. "Ah, there were some unfinished matters. Now, you two should shake hands." At his command, Ryer and Bianca Andre stepped forward to formally introduce themselves. Bianca stated simply, "Bianca Andre." Ryer replied, "I'm Ryer. A pleasure to meet you." That done, Jamie's eyes narrowed at the scurrying skeletons. This area is still unstable, not an ideal place to increase our forces. He turned to Ryer and Bianca Andre, immediately issuing them a new assignment. "You two have a vital mission. Manage the Andes soldiers here." Ryer nodded. "No need to worry," Bianca added. "We will try our best." At that moment, Jamie recalled Nebro and asked Ryer, "Where is Nebro?" Ryer replied, "I don't know. I haven't seen his face since that day." Nebro became an Andes under Jamie after his wicked acts at 𝐆𝐃 school. Since he operates independently, he's likely training alone somewhere in the village. Jamie reminded him, "Introduce Bianca to him when he returns." Ryer bowed. "I understand." Jamie then turned to Bianca Andre, saying, "I'm confident you'll do well." Bianca clasped her hands. "You have nothing to worry about." Though he said that, Jamie's true thoughts were, "I'm more worried for the others." With business concluded, he used magic to return to his room. He thought he might finally get a moment's rest. But suddenly, a knock echoed from his door, Jamie's wary gaze fixed on the entrance. "Someone's at the door," he called out. "Who is it?" A young girl in a maid's uniform entered, cheerfully introducing herself. "My name is Manhwa." Jamie lowered his guard, smiling kindly at her. What brings you here so late? Nhva hesitated. I have something to ask you. Then, Nhva cut straight to the chase. Can you please return my rosary? Hearing that, Jamie was taken aback. So, someone connected to the 13th god has appeared. He closed his eyes, casting a spell. Let's speak outside. In a flash, they were teleported to a desolate, empty plot of land. Jamie immediately summoned the chain, questioning Nhva. Are you referring to this? Seeing the rosary, Nhva's face beamed. Yes. I would be so grateful if you returned it. Jamie flatly refused. But I don't want to. Navia smiled awkwardly, scratching her head. That puts me in a difficult position. Jamie's suspicion about Navia's true form was growing. He asked with a serious tone. Who are you? In response, Nhva simply smiled, saying nothing. But then, Nhva began to transform. The body grew larger, becoming a man whose muscles tore through his sleeves. Jamie was frozen in place, utterly stunned by this unbelievable sight. He stammered in disbelief. You! That ability to transform is? Having changed forms, the man politely greeted Jamie. A pleasure to finally meet you. The man now had pink hair and a peculiar snake-shaped nose. He bowed with great reverence, revealing his true identity. I am Nirvana, one of 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒's Alma. The scene changes, offering more clarity on Nirvana's identity. From within a room, a voice moans in pleasure. Ah, master. 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒, a subordinate of Diablo Vamp, was dancing in delight. To think you would appear. Do you know how I have? A different voice cut her off. Don't get carried away, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒. The voice belonged to a man hooked up to countless medical tubes. He went on. Do you intend to ruin the entire plan at the final moment? At his words, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒 bit her lip. Her entire body trembled as she spoke. I have endured for tens of thousands of years, believing that one day, he and I would meet again. Then, an ecstatic laugh erupted from her. I can't hold myself back any longer. The man covered in intravenous tubes narrowed his eyes, watching 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒's unbridled excitement. A look of unease crossed his face. Ever since that reincarnated body appeared in Harmonia, a sense of restlessness had plagued him. Then, he spoke. You wish for our master to die a second time? Hearing this, 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐒 spun around. She shot the man a murderous glare, her voice dripping with menace. How dare you? The man covered in tubes remained perfectly calm as he replied. Wasn't the reason you avoided the 12 gods' watch to protect our master, Diablo Volpir? She froze at his words, unable to respond. He continued. There are still a few years left. Please, just be a little more patient. A frustrated look shadowed 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒's face. She clenched her fist so tightly it drew blood, whispering with regret. Master. The scene shifts back to the present. At that moment, Jamie Welton questioned Nirvana. You're an Oma? Nirvana answered, Yes. Oma is the name given to 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒's subordinates. It means serpent. Jamie Welton pondered this. He's not lying. That defined form he uses was most likely granted by 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒. It seems she holds him in high regard. Defined form is the ability to shift from a cellular state to another shape. This power allows him to exist in any form in this world. Jamie's thoughts continued. So, what about 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿? He then asked Nirvana directly. Where is 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿? Suddenly, Nirvana drew a sharp dagger. I cannot tell you her exact location. If you two were to make contact, our entire plan would be ruined. With a wry smile, Nirvana brought the blade to his own neck. Instead, I will offer you my head, as an apology. A look of frustrated anger crossed Jamie's face. Stop joking around. Nirvana just laughed loudly in response. As you wish. Jamie then presented the rosary and asked, So she was the one who created this? Nirvana replied, Yes, that is correct. Jamie pressed further. Do you know what kind of divinity resides within it? Nirvana gave a strained smile and began to answer. Ah, that is... But before he could finish, Jamie unleashed his power. A terrifying expression darkened his face as he threatened Nirvana. If you don't answer, I'll tear out your brain and read your memories myself." Hearing this, Nirvana held up a hand, forcing a smile. "Please, there's no need to be so serious. I truly am a loyal subordinate of 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿." He then pointed to the rosary in Jamie's hand. "That divinity. It belongs to Diablo Volpir. It was created from dark mana." Hearing this, a flicker of confusion crossed Jamie Welton's face. He fell into thought. It's true. A divine light can be born from the pinnacle of dark mana. It's not impossible, but, Nirvana continued, allow me to explain further. Fragments of Diablo Volpir's power are currently scattered across the continent. He went on. We have been gathering those fragments and infusing them into this divine power. Jamie asked in surprise. You created divinity that way? Nirvana closed his eyes and explained. The third demonic beast, Braki, has the ability to create light from dark mana. Therefore, creating divine power is entirely possible. Jamie questioned him again. And how would you know that? Nirvana clasped his hands together, replying gently. The moment Braki created that divine light, a resonance occurred within us. He gestured toward Jamie. Perhaps it's because they share the same origin as us. Hearing this, Jamie's expression grew puzzled. He raised a hand to his chin, lost in thought. Is it because they were all created from my dark mana? Jamie then posed another question to Nirvana. Then let me ask you one more thing. Has 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 created her own faith? Jamie considered this. Divine power can only exist through faith and loyalty. While it can't compare to the 12 gods, she would still need a large number of followers to maintain divinity at this level. At this, Nirvana gave a cold smile. That is something I cannot tell you. 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 will tell you herself someday. With a snap of his fingers, Jamie said, Here. Instantly, the rosary teleported from Jamie's hand to Nirvana's. Tell 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿, I want to see her soon. After receiving the rosary, Nirvana bowed respectfully. Thank you, my lord. I will see you again. Then, he slowly faded away, leaving Jamie Welton standing alone in the vast, empty land. He gazed up at the boundless sky. 𝐃𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿, in my past life, and in this one, I've never known what you're scheming. Jamie lowered his head, a sad look on his face. No, perhaps my obsession with destroying the 12 gods made me neglect the feelings of my subordinates. His thoughts continued. In this life, things appear only once before they vanish. Perhaps I should cherish them more. Early the next day, Jin asked Jamie Welton, Looks like everything is finally taken care of, right? A proud expression crossed Jamie Welton's face. All taken care of. With that, the two of them set off on their way. Just then, a voice called out to them from the distance. Ah! It was the sound of Frian's voice. Jamie Welton turned, surprised. Frian? Why did you run all the way out here so early in the morning? Frian was bent over, panting heavily from exhaustion. The boy said with a tremble, Thank goodness. I made it in time. Frian then pulled out his old coin purse and held it out to Jamie Welton. Please, take this. The young boy bowed sincerely, offering the pouch with both hands as he spoke again. This is all my savings from the past few years. Thank you so much for saving my family. Jamie Welton was stunned by the gesture, pausing for a moment before he started to tease Frian. My services should be paid for in gold, you know. Frian's eyes widened in surprise. He stammered, Huh? But I don't have that much. Jamie gently ruffled Frian's hair and said, Forget about the money. Just work hard to help your family. I'll come back to collect my fee when you're a grown man. Tears of gratitude began to well up in Frian's eyes, and he was so moved he could only sniffle, unable to speak. With that settled, Jamie Welton turned to leave, bidding Frian farewell. I'm off. Seeing this, Jin started to tease him. You really like building up a super cool image in front of kids, don't you? Jamie replied proudly. I'm always this cool. Suddenly, Frian shouted, Big Brother Ricky! The boy yelled loud enough for Jamie Welton to hear. You have to promise you'll come back to visit us. I'll show you how incredibly cool I've become too. A smile graced Jamie Welton's lips as he replied, All right. The scene shifts to the north of the 𝐒𝐄𝐂𝐻𝐿 continent, the 𝐄𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 Mountains. Here, a man named Kenjin was being hunted by a group of pursuers from behind. The men shouted, "Stop! Don't let him get away!" Kenjin ran, gasping for breath, thinking to himself, "Damn it! How did things turn out like this? I really don't have the strength to run anymore." The men chasing Kenjin yelled, "Surround him!" In his despair, Kenjin squeezed his eyes shut. Images of the innocent children from the orphanage flashed through his mind. Kenjin was being ruthlessly hunted down. "He's up ahead! Faster!" one shouted. Suddenly, Kenjin's strength gave out and he stumbled to a stop. At that moment, Kenjin's body began to slowly transform. He muttered, "I can't give up." Finally, Kenjin's transformation was complete. His moniker, Kenji the Killer. The pursuers saw Kenjin's new form and froze in sheer terror, stopping in their tracks and trembling with fear. Kenjin's face was a horrifying sight, his eyes glowing a deep blood red. He slowly turned towards them and spoke, "Well, now." Then, he lunged with his blade, roaring, "I must survive!" At that same time in the Yellow Mountains, on Mount Bivas, Jamie Welton and Jin had stopped to rest by a fire. Jamie asked Jin, "Why do we have to cross this mountain range? Wouldn't it be easier to pass through the 𝐿von kingdom?" Jin replied, "I cannot cross the kingdom because I have no official background." Jamie thought for a moment. Come to think of it, compared to Han, Jin's appearance and demeanor were much more intimidating. Thinking this, Jamie's curiosity got the best of him and he asked Jin, "I'm curious, what is your relationship with Han? Are you too close simply because you're both from Fran and our fellow countrymen?" Hearing this, Jin immediately replied, "I'm not close with him. We just come from the same place, but our statuses are different." Jin continued, "Han is a nobleman, and I was a slave." Hearing this, Jamie Welton's eyes widened in utter shock and disbelief. Jin continued to tell Jamie Welton about his past. "Because I was skilled in combat, I was lucky enough to be noticed by a general, and after living life as a slave under his command for some time, I was eventually granted my freedom." Jin went on, "But in the end, even after being freed, I still had to face discrimination." Jin calmly closed his eyes and said, "Perhaps that's why the young master wants to be close to me, but I still feel this relationship cannot last." Jamie Welton listened and understood. "Ah, so that's why you don't feel close to him." Jamie looked up at the mountain peak and said, "You know, right now I wish I could just fly up there." Hearing this, Jin spoke up, "That's impossible, because there is a mana zone here." Jin explained what a mana zone was. Mana. It's a wall of mana that divides the border. It is a barrier created to protect the country. When a magic user approaches the mana zone, both bordering nations will detect a signal and take notice. Not only that, but the mana zone was also created by dragons to monitor the movement of humans. Hearing this, Jamie Welton bowed his head and fell into deep thought. If I destroy the mana zone, the dragons will likely take action and cause trouble for me. It's almost unbelievable that they can control it by themselves. Jamie continued to think, if dark mages like Canon had not appeared, the dragons would have no reason to show up in the human world. It is forbidden for the dragons of the dragon god Brahman to interfere in the territory of other gods. After thinking it through, Jamie stood up, dusted himself off, and said, "Then we'll just have to make them sleep and leave the mountain." Suddenly, Jamie sensed something behind him. Model. He and Jin scanned their surroundings. Jin confirmed, "I feel it too. Someone's here." By the riverbank, Kenjin lay motionless, on the brink of death. Jamie Welton and Jin teleported to his side instantly. Jin surveyed the man. "He's in terrible shape," Jamie added, "especially that wound in his stomach." Jamie immediately began his healing arts, placing a hand over Kenjin's injury. Jin marveled. The power of a saint is truly something else. Just then, Jin's eyes fell upon Kenjin's arm. He had to ask, "That sword on his arm, is it a divine artifact?" "No," Jamie replied. "I can't sense any magic from it." Jin leaned in, studying the blade fused to Kenjin's arm. "What a strange weapon. I've never seen anything like it." With the healing complete, Jamie stood up. "Let's go. I've healed the wound, and I don't want him to see us." But suddenly, Kenjin let out a pained groan, whispering a few desperate words. "I don't want to die." Jin couldn't make out the words. What did he say? Jamie sighed, a look of reluctant helplessness on his face. "Ugh, Why do I have to be so noble? A moment later, Kenjin slowly stirred and his eyes fluttered open. Seeing him conscious, Jamie asked, "How are you feeling?" Kenjin, still dazed, looked up. "Did you save me?" "I did," Jamie confirmed. "You were on the verge of death." Kenjin responded politely, "Thank you." Jin immediately pressed for information about the sword bonded to Kenjin's arm. "What is that blade?" "It seems fused to your right arm." Kenjin clearly wanted to dodge the question. He gave a vague reply, glancing around. "Ah, it's a prosthesis. Where are we?" Jamie answered. "The middle of Mount 𝐒𝐵. What were you thinking, crossing a mountain at midnight?" Kenjin stood up, scratching his head with an awkward laugh. "Ha ha ha, it was nothing." "What are your names?" Jamie said. "Just call us J and N." "And you?" Kenjin replied with equal courtesy. "Call me Ken." Before he could finish, the sword fled with pain. He clutched his arm, his face twisted in agony. Seeing this, Jamie's brow furrowed. "What's wrong?" Kenjin quickly composed himself, forcing a smile despite the sweat on his brow. "It's nothing. I'll be back later." And with that, he swiftly departed. Jin watched him go with suspicion. "He's hiding a lot," Jamie replied. "He doesn't even know there was a hole in his stomach." Jamie continued, "If I'm not mistaken, the thing on his arm is a demon sword. There are many types of swords, normal blades, and ancient artifacts used with magic skills, allowing them to fly. There are also divine swords, blessed by a god, and demon swords, born from wicked rituals and forbidden acts." Jamie added, "He's likely being controlled by it, forced to kill against his will." "You mean he's a killer?" Jin asked. Jamie mused. "When he returns, we'll ask him. I doubt he'll be able to run." Elsewhere, Kenjin leaned against a tree, clutching his throbbing arm. His whole body trembled as he thought, "Finally, it's back to normal." Utterly exhausted, he slumped to the ground. His face contorted in pain as he growled, "Damn it, I should never have accepted that command." Bloodringer, the bringer of carnage. A blade forever stained, radiating a dark and terrifying aura. About 100 years ago, near the Leo Mountains, a demon sword was born from a horrifying nightmare. A voice echoed in his mind, and Kenjin finding it was pure, accidental fate. In the past, a voice had called out. Director Kenjin heard his name and calmly turned toward the sound. Back then, Kenjin was the head of a small orphanage. He was always playing with the children, carrying a young boy on his shoulders, holding his legs with a joyful smile. Kenjin was a truly kind-hearted man. He cared for the abandoned children as if they were his own. To keep the orphanage afloat, he often took on dangerous missions. He threw himself into battle, slaying demons, cutting them down in a spray of blood with a single slash. He undertook perilous quests for herbs on treacherous mountains, and soon he earned the title of an exceptional mercenary. Then one day, a strange old man came to visit Kenjin. The portly, bald man smiled. "I heard you were a veteran mercenary, so I came to find you." He then presented his request. "There is a commission I need you to handle." Accepting the job, Kenjin traveled to a desolate forest. As he walked, he mumbled to himself, "That herb only appears in this forest range." He realized, "But this forest is vast, finding it won't be easy. If I'm late getting back, the children will worry." After searching for some time, Kenjin sensed a dark, black energy ahead. He looked up towards its source, his voice filled with awe. "What is that?" Before Kenji, the Bloodbringer was plunged into the earth, a dark aura radiating from it. He hesitantly approached the blade, feeling an undeniable pull, as if the sword itself was calling to him. He reached for the hilt of the beckoning sword. Instantly, tendrils from the grip wrapped around Kenji's arm. Shocked, he grimaced and yelled out in pain, "What is this?" A moment later, Kenji's agonizing screams echoed through the forest. When he finally came to, his right arm had fused with the sword. He hid the blade in the dirt, surrounded by the corpses of blue monsters, the air thick with dust and decay. Monster carcasses were piled high all around him. From that moment on, the demon sword relentlessly craved blood. When its bloodlust grew too strong, the blade would overwhelm Kenji's will. He would slaughter anyone nearby in a mad frenzy, the sword a permanent part of his arm. Not long ago, his face twisted in a feral snarl, his eyes glowing as he lost all reason. As a result, Kenji murdered the son of the Lord who ruled over the 𝐿𝐿 Mountains. After the man's fate was sealed, he lay in a growing pool of his own blood. Kenji trembled, kneeling beside the body, the sword on his arm shaking as he cursed. Damn it, this is a nightmare. Then, a thought sparked in his mind. Maybe it would be better for everyone if I just died. But memories suddenly flooded Kenji's thoughts. An orphan girl held up a drawing of him and the other children, calling out excitedly, "Director, look! Dai and I drew this." At the time, Kenji had calmly praised her. "What a beautiful house. Did you really draw it?" The complimented children cheered, their faces filled with immense hope. Aaron, who was beside them, spoke up. "When we grow up, we'll buy you a giant house just like this one." Remembering their smiles, Kenji tried to steel himself. He screamed in his thoughts, "No, I can't fall apart here." He gripped the arm bound to the cursed sword, trembling with resolve. "I have to live, at least until the children can stand on their own." Then, Kenji swore to himself, "I can't let them kill or capture me." He finally stood, leaning his weary body against a tree, and whispered to himself, "I never even got to thank the person who saved my life." Kenji then came to a grim realization. But I have to stay away from them, to keep them safe. He knew the Lord's knights could arrive at any moment. A fierce snowstorm began to rage through the forest. Clutching his sword arm, Kenji dragged his body through the snow, leaving a broken trail of footprints as he muttered, "I have to keep moving." The Lord's men had already begun to comb the forest during the blizzard. The commander's order rang out. He couldn't have gotten far. "Search everywhere," his men roared back. "Yes, sir." They immediately fanned out to begin their search. Through the storm, a man's angry, fearsome face appeared. He scanned his surroundings, his face twisting as he searched, grinding his teeth. "You wretched murderer, where are you hiding?" This armored man was Hindo, captain of the knights. He stepped on a dry twig on the ground, letting out a grunt. He then looked up, staring ahead through the unrelenting snow. Hindo voiced his discovery. "There's a giant cave." He then held up a glowing blue gem, channeling his voice into it to report to his men. "There's a cave nearby. He's likely hiding inside. Move in and find him." His men replied through the link. "Understood." Hindo stood alone before the cave entrance, which was 1,000 times his size, and made an observation. Just looking at it is overwhelming. Suddenly, the ground beneath Hindo's feet began to crack, and he cried out in confusion. "What's happening? An earthquake?" From deep within the cave, a ferocious voice boomed. "How dare you disturb my rest?" The voice belonged to a colossal body with razor-sharp teeth. The monster in the cave opened its golden eyes, growling with rage. "I smell the disgusting stench of blood," it remarked. Faced with this terrifying pressure, Hindo was stunned, his face pale with fear as he gasped. He couldn't even form words, his mind only able to scream. "My God, this cave is—" He instantly realized the monster before him was a dragon. A deafening, furious roar erupted from the great dragon. "Begone, insect!" The roar was followed by a massive, earth-shaking explosion. The red dragon poked its head out of the cave with words of utter contempt. "An unlucky bug, wandering in the very moment I awaken." At the dragon's feet lay the bloody, pulverized remains of Hindo. This was 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿, the red dragon, the strongest species on Earth. Suddenly, 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 glanced down, a flicker of interest in his eyes. "Him?" His eyes narrowed. A powerful instinct about the forest alerted him. Were there other insects nearby? More importantly, one of them possessed a truly formidable power. At that thought, the red dragon's body began to blaze with power. In the next instant, he took human form, a cruel smirk on his face. The opening act of this little game is quite amusing. Elsewhere, Jin also sensed that something was terribly wrong. Killing intent. He froze, startled by the overwhelming presence as a silent scream echoed in his mind. "This is the first time I've ever felt a killing intent this powerful." Realizing the danger, Jin quickly grabbed the hand of the man beside him, pulling him away from their campfire. "Jamie Welton. I don't know what that is, but we have to get away from it. Now!" Jamie Welton looked back at him, surprised by the sudden urgency. But he simply shrugged Jin's hand away. With a determined glint in his eyes, his expression darkened. "I'm not going anywhere." Jamie Welton then added, "Our opponent is a dragon." The shocking revelation made Jin tremble. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at Jamie. A dragon? How could no one have detected it? He reasoned that if a dragon's lair existed, rumors would have already spread. Seeing his doubt, Jamie Welton's expression grew grim. He cautiously scanned their surroundings while sharing what he knew. "Each dragon has its own unique traits," he explained, as the snowstorm raged around them. "It must have used magic to hypnotize perception, hiding its lair from the world. Under the full moon, on this snowy mountain," he made his deduction. That magic likely resonated with the moonlight to deceive human minds. The two stood before the warming fire as Jamie explained further. "Under this moon, that magic is almost impossible to dispel." Hearing this, Jin finally understood and agreed with his assessment. "Indeed, the moonlight's resonance holds a terrifying power." He then added, "It means no one can escape its range. Will be discovered soon." At this, Jamie's voice became even more grave. "The only question is its color. If it's a green or white dragon, we might be able to defeat it." Images of white and green dragons flashed through his mind, but a much darker possibility surfaced. But if it's a black or red dragon, then this is a suicide mission. He imagined a fearsome red dragon, breathing fire, ready for war. Jamie stated grimly, "If they sense a threat, they show absolutely no mercy." He then clenched his fist, his face hardening with resolve. "Worst case scenario, we have to fight it." Behind them, the snow fell relentlessly. A desperate thought screamed through his mind. "If it's a young dragon, we can win. But if it's an ancient one..." He paused, unable to face the inevitable conclusion. Elsewhere, Hinder fled through the snow, a sword still fused to the flesh of his hand. He gritted his teeth, his breath ragged, vowing to himself, "I have to get the children to another kingdom. We have to change their identities so our pursuers can't find them." The hand fused to the sword clenched and unclenched uncontrollably. He cried out in his heart, "If only I were a master sorcerer, I could find a way to remove this cursed blade." Suddenly, 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿's dark voice echoed from behind him. "I smell the thick scent of blood." Hinder's face went deathly pale with terror. He whipped around in a panic, his mind racing. Could it be the pursuers? 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 approached, a look of twisted amusement on his face. "Now that," he mused, "is a rather interesting insect." The dragon hovered above, staring down at Hinder, who stopped dead in his tracks to look up. 𝐃𝐄𝐿 studied him for a moment before passing judgment. It seemed the demon sword had completely taken over. Below, a terrified Hinder trembled, screaming at 𝐃𝐄𝐿. "You knew about this?" 𝐃𝐄𝐿 ignored him, raising a hand to conjure a magic circle. Then, he gave his command, "Demon sword, devour him." Instantly, tentacles shot from the blade, wrapping tightly around Hinder. The boy's face was a mask of speechless horror. 𝐃𝐄𝐿's voice echoed, chillingly clear. "Simply put, that sword is like a parasite," he added, "and a parasite will do anything to seize its host." Images of the orphanage children flashed relentlessly through Hinder's mind. He braced his sword against the ground, but the cursed blade overwhelmed him. He collapsed, gasping and screaming, "Arg! My body! I can't fight it!" High above in the snow, 𝐃𝐄𝐿 smirked down at Hinder. "He's a resilient pest," he explained, with impressive willpower. "Demon sword. Just use more force." He beckoned with his finger, urging the blade on. Hinder slammed onto the ground. Blood poured from his wounds as veins bulged in pure agony. He grit his teeth, drool mixing with a guttural roar. As the sword took full control, it lunged toward 𝐃𝐿 with a monstrous scream. "Ugh!" Yet as the possessed blade neared, 𝐃𝐿 just smiled, his tone dripping with mockery. "Your first time completely possessing a body, I see. Curious about your new power, are you?" 𝐃𝐿 then roared his own judgment at the demon sword. "I know that feeling. Always wanting to lash out at others." As he spoke, a powerful killing intent slammed into the sword, shattering the ground around it. 𝐃𝐿 merely stood by, watching the destruction unfold. "You From within a vortex of flames he made the demon sword howl in misery. Ah. But 𝐿𝐻𝐿 showed no mercy, remarking calmly, "However, you're quite brave, daring to touch this one's body." 𝐿𝐻𝐿's words were almost a compliment. The demon sword's eyes blazed with fury. It endured the dragon's bone-flaying attack, glaring with pure hatred. Despite its ferocity, 𝐿𝐻𝐿 remained unfazed. "You attacked that body without a shred of fear. If there's a next time, I won't be so forgiving," he threatened. 𝐿𝐻𝐿's flames vanished. The sword sat amidst the rubble, head bowed in silence. 𝐿𝐻𝐿 glanced back at it, his voice a soft reminder. "All right then, if you still wish to test your strength." He paused, then continued. "Go and clean up some pests polluting my domain." 𝐿𝐻𝐿's gaze was calm, but held a stern warning. "One of them is no ordinary insect. Purge them all, and you will be handsomely rewarded." Hearing this, the demon sword shot to its feet. It clenched its fist with a ferocious glare and a low growl, slamming its weapon down in acknowledgement. 𝐿𝐻𝐿's voice urged it on. "Go, my bloodthirsty beast." Elsewhere, Jemmy Welton sensed the shift and warned the others. "Jin, besides the dragon, we have another opponent." Jin froze, looking at him for confirmation. "What?" Before Jin could react, Jemmy shot forward. "Hurry up!" Jin could only watch, stunned. Then, Anne called out to him. "Follow me." One of the pursuing knights grit his teeth, staring at the sight before him in utter terror. Gah! In front of him was Hinder, completely possessed. He was a wild beast, slaughtering them without mercy as blood splattered everywhere. The men screamed and fled in chaos. Jemmy Welton observed, "It seems he's repaying the dragon by taking revenge for it." Hinder, fully consumed by the sword, swung wildly at the knights. One screamed in agony. "Arr!" Blood erupted from his back. Suddenly, Jemmy teleported behind the possessed Hinder. "I suspected this from the start, but now you've committed a truly horrific crime." The sword froze at the sound of his voice, as Jemmy condemned it. "You repay kindness with this." But he sensed something else, his eyes darting around warily. The dragon is nearby." Jin appeared before him, striding toward the demon sword. "I'll kill him. We saved his life, so his death is the only price to appease the souls he took." The demon sword stood silently amidst the blood-soaked corpses on the snow. Hearing Jin, he turned and nodded firmly at him, confirming his plan. "Right. I'll go check for survivors." The demon sword turned as Jane approached, its crimson eyes fixing on him as it spoke. "You must be one of the non-insects, then?" Ignoring the taunt, he drew his sword from his hip. "I don't know what you mean, but I will grant you a painless death. Consider that my mercy." With a roar, Jin lunged forward, his sword gleaming. Killing intent blazed in his eyes as he yelled his technique's name. Moonlight Resonance, Shadow Blade. He unleashed a single, sweeping slash. A bright line flashed across the demon's neck, followed by an eruption of blood. The attack was so swift, the creature's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. As blood gushed from the wound, Jin's calm voice cut through the air. "My cut was precise, so there will be no pain." But then he froze. The blood splatter began to form orbs, flying back towards the demon. Confusion and shock screamed through Jin's mind. Blood from the wound reversed its flow, streaming back towards the demon's severed head. Jin stared in horror as the neck reattached. The demon could only stammer, I will." Its throat healed completely. A grotesque, drooling smile stretched across its face as its crimson eyes blazed with the desire to destroy the world. Elsewhere, Jemmy Welton stood amidst corpses, sword at the ready. A quick glance confirmed they were all dead. A question echoed in his mind. Where did that life force he sensed just now disappear to? "Speak of the devil." 𝐿𝐻𝐿's arrogant voice suddenly rang out. "You seem rather relaxed, don't you?" Jemmy Welton's eyes snapped towards the voice, his guard instantly up. He's hiding somewhere in this blizzard, he thought. Meanwhile, 𝐿𝐻𝐿 hovered just above his head, passing judgment. An elegant insect. Jemmy silently tried to pinpoint his exact location. Then his eyes fell upon 𝐿𝐻𝐿. A red dragon? A battle-hungry glint flashed in the dragon's eyes. He sneered at Jemmy. "So, You knew I was nearby? Then he added nonchalantly, although I'm not that surprised. Realizing he was found, 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 swiftly descended. Jamie turned to face him, explaining cautiously, It's because your dragonkin are a race of intensely powerful emotions. Hearing this assessment, 𝐃𝐄𝐿 just shrugged and smirked dismissively at Jamie Welton. A rather remarkable insect. Jamie stared back, unable to contain his curiosity, and asked, You've only just reached adulthood, correct? Seeing how accurate his guess was, 𝐃𝐿 spread his arms and roared with laughter. Ha ha ha. Then he exclaimed in mock surprise, What's this? A human who can guess a dragon's stage of life? How amusing. Unfazed by the condescension, Jamie pressed further. But I know, you are nearly 3,000 years old, right? At those words, the dragon's eyes narrowed into slits of fury as veins began to pop on his forehead. A voice like tempered steel roared 𝐃𝐿's name. Curse of 𝐂𝐂𝐒𝐻! He thrust his hand at Jamie Welton, and a crushing pillar of aura slammed down upon him. The very ground beneath Jamie's feet buckled and cracked from the sheer pressure. Blood began to stream from his eyes. Still, Jamie forced his gaze upward, gasping in shock. His mind screamed one phrase, dragon's tongue. He recognized it instantly. The language of dragons, one of the most powerful linguistic-type spells in existence. It was a form of absolute manipulation magic that only dragons could wield. With this new information, he confirmed his theory about 𝐃𝐿. At this level, you must be about 2,700 years old. Hearing this, the dragon grew even more furious, grinding his teeth. What did you say? Seeing his act of denial, Jamie Welton explained his reasoning. Dragon's tongue is a power that grows stronger with time. But for it to be only this strong, your age is obvious. Under the immense pressure, Jamie grinned, then raised his arm and shouted, Activate Perfect Cell! A brilliant purple magic flared to life around Jamie Welton's wrist. In that instant, Perfect Cell was online. An artifact of absolute immunity, one of the 3 greatest divine treasures of Diablo. It was a bracelet of purple mana. Once activated, the user becomes immune to all plagues and curses. With the artifact active, Jamie Welton swiftly raised his arm high into the air. Energy from the anti-curse bracelet began to erupt violently. Witnessing the bracelet's power, 𝐃𝐿's rage intensified. He was blasted backward, roaring in fury. You bastard! Suddenly, Jamie's urgent voice cut through the chaos. Fight me! Blood trickled from his mouth and eyes, but his gaze was unyielding as he pointed at 𝐃𝐿. Either I die, his resolve hardened like steel as he added, or you die. With that, he roared the name of his own technique. Rimia, activate! From Jin's position, the demon sword erupted with sharp, writhing tendrils. He glided across the ice, narrowly evading the relentless assault from the floating weapon and its endless tentacles. He analyzed the situation internally. It can control blood. A truly wicked power has been awakened. Jin continued to dodge with incredible speed, but the tendrils pursued him without pause, attacking relentlessly. The enemy's face twisted into a smug grin. Jin knew he was in trouble. If it can control its opponent's blood, I'm at a huge disadvantage. Suddenly, Jin's feet froze, stuck fast in the deep snow. He immediately understood the situation. This is a battle of pure speed. He drew his blade, whispering the name of a new technique, stillness. With his disappearance, he unleashed his skill, creating a half-moon slash. Jin appeared from the moonlight behind the monster, his blade striking true. The attack sliced the creature in half, revealing a small, glowing orange core within its body. Its body immediately began to wither, but the tentacles quickly swarmed around the bright orange core. Seeing this, Jin knew his target. A core? I have to destroy it. He lunged forward without a second thought, but the tentacles had already enveloped the core, drawing the demon sword's remaining blood toward it. He shielded his eyes, stammering, That is. Before him, a grotesque new monster was being formed by the tentacles. Its eyes, nose, and mouth were all horrifically mismatched, twisted into a ghastly grin. Seeing it, Jin couldn't help but roar with fury. What kind of fiend created this abomination? He then reached forward, gathering energy in his palm, and roared the name of the technique, Moonlit seal. A blinding light erupted in the darkness, unleashing a massive wave of power. But the demonic beast's body began to transform, taking the full force of the attack without a single scratch as it glared at Jin. He saw this and roared in pure fury. Damn it! That grotesque form. Its eyes stared up at him. With its twisted, nightmarish shape, it lunged toward Jin, who screamed in outrage. Why won't you die? As it snarled, Jin raised his arms to block and dodged away. He thought to himself, if only Jamie Welton were here. Then suddenly, as if remembering something, Jin froze and muttered, did he run into that dragon? Is that why he hasn't returned yet? Elsewhere, with Jamie Welton, 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿 stared at the labyrinth wall before him and spoke in disbelief. He was stunned, trying to process it. It seems I've been transported to another dimension. He created this entire space in an instant. Moments later, 𝐃𝐄𝐿 turned to face him, his opponent standing ready with sword in hand, demanding confirmation. Do you truly wish to fight me? On the other side, Jamie Welton didn't hesitate to provoke him. What's wrong? Are you scared already? They stood in a pocket dimension, a shifting maze of earth and stone. Seeing the scorn in his opponent's words, 𝐃𝐄𝐿's anger flared. He swung his arm back, grinding his teeth and narrowing his eyes as he cursed. You arrogant human! As he spoke, flames erupted from his hand. He then charged toward Jamie Welton, unleashing his attack. But Jamie remained calm, holding his sword, watching 𝐃𝐿's reckless advance. He then brought 2 fingers to his lips and whispered something. Fire burst. Instantly, the surrounding flames were extinguished. Even the fire-cloaking 𝐃𝐿's body vanished. Confused by this impossible feat, he froze mid-air and demanded an answer. What? What kind of trick was that? Seeing his opponent's bewilderment, Jamie confirmed his fears. It's nothing, really. It's just that fire is unusable in this space. Then, he began to taunt 𝐃𝐿 once more. My apologies. I completely forgot. Without your flames, you're quite useless, aren't you? Then, magic circles began to appear, unleashing their effects. Mana levels dropped, oxygen depleted, gravity weakened. The pressure became overwhelming. In this situation, the ground beneath them began to crack. 𝐃𝐿's face darkened, his claws clenching in fury. Jamie Welton's voice echoed again, confirming, I've prepared a few little things just for you. Surrounded by crippling magic, 𝐃𝐿 trembled as he glared at him and asked again, Human, what have you truly done? Jamie stood watching, a calm smile on his face, and began to explain. If you're truly the greatest species in the world, then fighting with a small handicap shouldn't be an issue, right? Hearing him both praise and mock him, 𝐃𝐿 was so enraged he gritted his teeth and shouted back. Ha! Are you perhaps afraid you'll lose to me? He taunted desperately. With that, 𝐃𝐿 threw his head back arrogantly, veins bulging on his neck as his body erupted in a brilliant blaze. He snarled every word. In the name of Brahman, king of the dragons. He paused, then declared, I will annihilate you. Hearing this, Jamie smirked, his plan a success. He's finally lost it, he thought, invoking the Dragon King's name and all. He then confirmed his thoughts. Once the Dragon King's name is invoked, if he is defeated, his very soul will be beyond salvation. Immediately, 𝐃𝐿 charged like a raging storm of fire. His eyes blazed with murderous intent as he ground his teeth in fury. He roared with certainty, I will kill you without a doubt. The creature moved like a tempest, circling him, causing Jamie to lose track of his position. Then, from behind, a clawed hand slashed towards him. Jamie sensed it and turned just in time. He immediately roared out a spell. Darkness! As he spoke, a black vortex materialized above him, swallowing 𝐃𝐿's attack whole. Jamie ducked under it, his eyes fixed on his foe. Seeing this, 𝐃𝐿 landed on the ground and analyzed the spell. Dark magic? It seems a little different from the dark magic, I know. Without hesitation, 𝐃𝐿 launched himself forward again with a ferocious expression. He screamed, I'll just have to use a rat like you for my experiment.